Hey there, I'm Grant Stinchfield in for Coley on Noir. What a pleasure it is to be here for CN Live, my first time hosting this show, and we have a packed hour ahead of us. It should be great. First off, I want to start talking about Chicago gun violence. It is out of control. There is no secret that Chicago is under siege. You know, Donald Trump said the carnage must stop there. Well, Rahm Emanuel comes out. He wants to argue what the Webster's definition of carnage is. When you have 762 people killed in a year, and you start off January with 228 shootings and 42 killings, as you see there on Twitter by Donald Trump spelling it out for us, up 24% from January in 2016, I will tell you that Chicago certainly has a problem. Chicago leaders there don't want to admit that they have a problem. That is Chicago's biggest problem, because until you acknowledge that your city is under siege by drug dealers, thugs, gangbangers, who all they want to do is wreak havoc on themselves and their own people, and what happens is innocent people get caught in the crossfire. Last night, consider this, 13 people were wounded in Chicago by gunfire. It happened near a memorial for another shooting that happened earlier in the week, including a 12-year-old girl. A 12-year-old girl grazed by gunfire. And you have city leaders there that don't want to do anything about it. So Donald Trump comes out and he says, hey, we're going to send you help. Well, in order for him to send help, one, you've got to get Attorney General Jeff Sessions approved. He could send help instantly. Now, Donald Trump, I would imagine, is going to send in an FBI task force and probably the ATF to prosecute gun crimes. That needs to happen. It should have been happening a long time ago. But Barack Obama is part of this problem as well. He perpetrates this lie on the people of Chicago that somehow it's not the leader's fault for not going out there trying to find criminals and put them in jail and keep them in jail. The reality is it is liberal policies that are now killing the people of Chicago. Now, we have Representative Luis Gutierrez, a Democrat. He goes on MSNBC. Now, when you talk about the gun violence in Chicago, he has the gall to blame the NRA. Take a listen to this.
Mr. President, we could use more ATF agents, more FBI agents in the city of Chicago so we could take the guns off our street. But yes, you're with the NRA. The NRA that endorsed him, that he is so part of his relationship. You know what that NRA did? It crippled the laws of the city of Chicago in the courts so that we cannot keep guns off our streets.
You have to be kidding me. He will look you straight in the eye, deceive you, lie to you, and perpetrate this deceitful message that somehow the NRA is responsible. If anything, the NRA has been a vocal supporter of trying to stop the gun violence. The first thing that needs to happen is stop persecuting law-abiding citizens in the city of Chicago. Let them be allowed to protect themselves. You have grandmothers who want nothing more than to be able to carry a firearm in the streets of Chicago. Yes, that's a story that you're not hearing from the mainstream media. Grandmothers that want to carry, even if it's just a little .380 that they can carry in their purse to protect themselves and their grandkids walking down the streets that are being terrorized by gangbangers. And Luis Gutierrez has the gall to come up with some kind of notion there's a lawsuit that's putting guns in criminals' hands. I challenge him to show me the facts of where he's getting this from. He can't do it. So I challenge Luis Gutierrez. You have the guts to go on MSNBC, a friendly little place where you guys can tiptoe through the tulip fields. I dare you to come on NRA TV. Come on and talk to me. Heck, you can come on and talk to my buddy Coley on Noir. He'll do just as good a job with you. Come on and have the guts to go face to face and tell me where you get your statistics to blame the NRA. You can't. And my guess is you will not come on. And if you do, I will donate $500 to a charity of your choice. How about that? All right. To talk about this and that soundbite, by the way, I want to bring in a very good friend of this program and the NRA's, AWR Hawkins. He writes for Breitbart.com. AWR, what did you think when you heard Luis Gutierrez and that nonsense?
Yeah, it's troubling. I mean, you know, Chicago has been a gun control experiment gone bad. You know, they banned handguns in '82. That lasted until 2010. When they banned handguns, there wasn't a 4% increase in murder. There wasn't a 7% increase in murder. There was a 47% increase in murder. I mean, the things that they have tried have only sacrificed more and more law-abiding citizens. Even today, their response to crime is more gun control. So the NRA's efforts in Chicago if an honest person looks at it, their efforts have been to try to remove barriers to law-abiding citizens carrying guns for self-defense. That has nothing to do with arming criminals, the way he presents it. It has nothing to do with those things. It's trying to give law-abiding citizens a fighting chance. And what do they want? Both he and Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, what do they want? More federal gun control. In other words, they want to use Chicago as an excuse to pass more gun control for Denver.
Yeah.
They want to use Chicago as an excuse to pass more gun control for San Diego. So on and on I could go. It's always opportunism for them. They're never really concerned or worried about what could make people safer.
They have a partner in crime in the mainstream media, AWR, and that they'll lie to us, and the mainstream media will push those lies out to the public to try to use Chicago as an example of why they need more gun laws, when in reality, Chicago, to me, is absolute proof that gun laws do not work. Even if you took out the notion that people need guns to protect themselves, even if you threw that out, the simple fact that gun laws have been enacted in Chicago has done nothing to decrease the violence, and in fact, we've seen it skyrocket, which means the criminals aren't paying attention to the laws.
No, you're exactly right. And that's why, Senator Murphy points to a lack of federal gun control. Well, if there's a lack of federal gun control that's causing problem, the problem should be across the country, but it's not across the country. The problem is in Baltimore, where they've passed a ton of gun control. The problem is in Chicago, where they've passed a lot of gun control. On and on we could go. Cities that have looked at gun control as an answer have reaped murder and carnage as a result. And it's because law-abiding citizens cannot get the guns they need for self-defense. It's an easy point to make. But as you say, CNN and others, they just don't want to see it.
No. You mentioned Connecticut and Chris Murphy. There was a time, I lived in Connecticut, and there was a time when it had a Republican governor in that state, and it was not a bad place to live. But in Connecticut today, you are under siege not just by criminals in places like Bridgeport and Hartford, Connecticut, which has a huge crime problem and also extreme gun laws, but the people of Connecticut are under siege by their liberal lawmakers with their thumb on them, holding them down. And what is so amazing to me, AWR, is that the people of Connecticut will talk over and over again about, I can't stand the liberal policies. It is so hard. I'm moving to North Carolina, or I'm moving to Texas. And then do you know what happens? They get down here, AWR, and then they vote for a Democrat again.
Right. No, you're right. And I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's very important. I wrote on it a few times. When Sandy Hook happened, Connecticut was ranked the 5th most stringent state for gun control, ranked that way by the Brady campaign. So here you have the 5th most stringent state for gun control. A gunman steals a gun and goes on a horrendous spree in a school. No doubt it was horrendous. I heard for the parents. But it was the 5th most stringent state for gun control. Doesn't that teach us that gun control simply doesn't stop a determined attacker? Yet they have responded to that by passing even more gun control. How does gun control stop someone from stealing a gun? It doesn't. It only keeps law-abiding citizens from being armed. And that's what we've got to get across to these people.
Yeah, AWR, and we know that the same goes true for these gun-free zones. And they've turned states into gun-free zones. They're trying to turn California, Washington into gun-free zones. The only people that listen to gun-free zones are law-abiding citizens that have a severe displeasure about being in jail, and they'll do everything they can to stay out of jail. But the criminals don't care. They're the ones carrying the firearms to do great harm. They don't care what a law says.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And that's why, I wrote today, I don't know if it's posted yet, but the Ohio University College Democrat president is literally cheering because her university says they will not go along with campus carry. She's cheering because they're going to maintain a gun-free policy. And I just have to say, that's the same policy Virginia Tech had on April 16, 2007. Same policy that the community college had in Oregon, October 1st, 2015. Attackers love these policies because no one can stop them when they come. We have to wise up. We have to change this.
We have to. All right, here's what I'm going to ask you, AWR Hawkins with Breitbart.com. I want you to hang on a little bit because I got some more topics to talk about. I want to talk about the NFL, for one thing, and there being a liberal vehicle for liberal thought. And I also want to talk about campus carry and what happened in Ohio, that I warned people what would happen in Ohio with the campus carry bill. We'll talk about all that when CN Live continues. I'm Grant Stinchfield in for Coley on the War.